I am Dr. Silas Mordaunt, Associate Professor of Literature, and I have not slept since Tuesday. I want to be careful about how I say what I'm about to say. I'm not a person given to announcement. I do not have revelations. I have, over many, many years of scholarship, developed a comprehensive contempt for the word revelation and the kind of academic personality that reaches for it. I'm telling you this so that you understand the weight of what follows when I tell you that 4 nights ago, rereading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, I had one. I had a revelation. I cancelled tennis and I shredded 11 days of notes. I've been in my study since Tuesday at 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning, doing what any responsible scholar does when they believe they have found something genuinely new, which is attempting with everything available to them to destroy it. I have not been able to destroy it. It holds. It holds with a particular infuriating, magnificent solidarity of something that was always true and simply required the correct person with the correct instruments to arrive. I'm here because I am that person. I am that person. The instruments are mine. Frankly, I'm here because I have nowhere else to take this. We begin with Robert Walton, and I need you to stay with me here because this is where I first saw the crack in the edifice, and I want to recreate that experience for you personally. Walton is an explorer writing letters from a ship locked in Arctic ice. He is sacrificing the well-being of everyone in his care to the pursuit of his own ambition and experiencing this sacrifice as nobility when Victor Frankenstein arrives on the ice. Skeletal, feverish, mid-pursuit of something across the frozen water, Walton writes to his sister that he has found at last a kindred spirit, a man who finally understands him, a friend. Shelley places this recognition before Victor speaks a single word, before the autobiography begins, before any of the novel's events are related. She ensures that the first thing we know about Victor Frankenstein, the absolute first data point, is that a man of catastrophic and self-mythologizing ambition looks at him across the Arctic ice and sees his own reflection. Characterization or structural argument delivered in the novel's opening pages about the category of person we are about to spend 300 pages with. She's not introducing a hero, she's issuing a warning. In the margins of my copy, at this point, I've written 2 words, which I will not repeat, but which represent my unfiltered response to realizing that this had been on page 1 since 1818, and no one had named it plainly enough. From here, we move to Victor's formation, which Victor describes for us himself with complete satisfaction as evidence of his own exceptional nature, without once appearing to notice what he is actually describing. Victor's childhood is a system designed with loving thoroughness to remove every developmental friction a person requires in order to become accountable to the world, the parents who adore without question, the curiosity that is never engaged with seriously, only affirmed or dismissed, the education that reinforces every appetite without ever pressing back against one. This does not produce a spoiled child in the ordinary sense. It is producing something much more interesting and more devastating, a man for whom the grammar of consequence has been made unavailable. Victor does not fail to take responsibility in the way the person fails an examination. He fails in the way that a person cannot speak a language they've never heard. The failure was built in before the laboratory existed. It was built in with love, which is the most effective and efficient delivery mechanism. The laboratory is next because please attend carefully because the locked room has been read as some kind of gothic atmosphere for 200 years. It's not atmosphere. Victor works in total secrecy. He seals himself from every colleague, every interlocutor, every consciousness capable of introducing friction into the process. And he tells us this is because his gift of humanity, or for humanity, is too immense for the world to currently receive. I've examined that sentence time and time again with a care it does not deserve, and I've arrived at the same conclusion every time. A man who genuinely intends to give something to the world does not hide it. He submits it to scrutiny. He invites correction. He wants to be tested, because testing is how the gift becomes real. The locked room is a confession, a room built to ensure that what happens inside it never has to survive being seen. It has always been a confession. Found that out at midnight on Tuesday, and I've not looked at this novel or the world the same way since. Now, here is the discovery. Here is the thing that cost me 4 nights of sleep and 11 days of notes on Tennyson and a level of sustained analytical excitement that I'm not accustomed to and will not apologize for. While Victor is in his room, building his creation in the dark, I want you to consider what the creature does after Victor abandons him. He has nothing. No language, no knowledge, no family, no institution, no mentor, no funded laboratory. He has no name. He has a ditch and a winter and a crack in the wall of a hovel through which he observes a French family over a period of months. And from that observation, he reverse engineers the entire structure of human emotional life. He finds books in a satchel in the forest, Milton and Goethe amongst them, and he teaches himself to read, and then he reads them and he uses them to build without assistance, without correction, without any of the scaffolding Victor received as his birthright. A complete and internally consistent ethical philosophy. He understands duty, he understands grief, he understands what is owed between a maker and a made thing, and of course he understands it with greater precision than the man who made him and then left the room. The creature reads Milton and understands without a tutor, without a seminar, without anyone to tell him what the text means, that he is Adam without a God who stayed. He reads Goethe and understands something about suffering and its relationship to self-knowledge, that Victor, with every institutional advantage available to him, has spent the entire novel failing to learn. He reads and he reads and he builds from lives of great men an ethical standard against which he then measures himself. And honestly, without self-serving, without distortion, not in the way that Victor applies to every act of his self-examination, he's doing alone in a forest with a borrowed satchel what universities exist to facilitate. And he's doing it better than the university's doing, and he's doing it with no one watching, which means he's doing it for no reason except that the doing is what a person does when they are trying in good faith with the materials available to become adequate to the world they have been placed in without consent. Shelley gives both characters the same fundamental project. Consider yourself from available materials into a person and construct it densely. And she gives one character everything and the other nothing, and then she shows you what each of them build. Victor builds the habit of evasion and the career-long performance of suffering as a substitute for accountability. The creature builds an entire moral philosophy. The one with the satchel of forest books produces the superior human being. I've been sitting with the geometry of that for 4 days, and I want to say it has shaken me. In the specific, almost physical way that only a genuinely original discovery can. I'm not accustomed to being shaken. I'm reporting it because it seems relevant to the record. The creature comes to Victor and makes a contract. I want you to hold that word contract. He proposes terms. He offers consideration. He states consequences with a clarity and a fairness and a coherence that Victor has never at any point in the novel managed in any direction. And Victor agrees, begins the work, and destroys it. And the creature does exactly what he said he would do, nothing more, nothing less. He's the only character in Frankenstein with a consistent relationship between his stated intentions and his subsequent actions. He says what he will do, and he does it. We have been invited to find this monstrous. I am finding it for the first time with absolute rigor to be the novel's only working definition of integrity. The fact that it's been characterized as monstrousness for 2 centuries is in itself a critical failure that this analysis is now correcting. So Victor dies on that ship. He gives a long and feeling speech about Victor. He mourns his lost loved ones. He warns Walton against ambition in a manner I would describe as breathtaking in its self-unawareness. He does not mourn the creature who was his child, who asked almost nothing, who is at this moment carrying his body to the ice to build himself a funeral pyre, rather than continue in a world that has never had a place for him. One of them, at the close of the novel, accepts the full weight of what the story cost and pays it in fire. One of them dies in a warm bunk, narrating. The creature's death is the novel's only honest act of closure, and Shelley places it last because she understood exactly what she had written, and she wanted to make sure we did too, and we have not until now, and the now is this, and the this is mine. I want to tell you, I have checked this. I want to tell you that the 4 nights were not 4 nights of excitement and revelation, but they were 4 nights of systematic demolition, of finding every available objection and pressing on it till it either held or broke, and the objections broke and the reading held. And I'm not sitting here in the particular condition I am currently in because I got carried away. I'm here because I tried very hard not to get carried away, and the evidence would not permit it. Which brings me, finally, after 4 nights, after Tennyson, after everything, to the thesis. I must attempt to deliver this with gravity, but I fear I cannot. What I want to give the space and the weight and the ceremony appropriate to the intervention of this magnitude in 2 centuries of scholarship. What I've been building toward brick by brick with the precision of someone who knew what was at the end of the argument and knew it required every piece of evidence that precedes it. What is Victor? He's a promise breaker. He agrees to make the creature a companion, begins the work, and destroys it because he cannot tolerate the implications of completing it. He is a coward. He stands in the room when the creature is animated and runs rather than face what he has made. He is a narcissist. Every catastrophe in the novel is processed first and last as an event in the story of Victor. He is a blame shifter. The creature kills, and Victor calls it the creature's nature rather than his own negligence. He is an abandoner. He creates a conscious being capable of suffering and leaves it in a room without a word. He is a manipulator. He recruits Walton to his cause from a deathbed with the skill of a man who's never stopped performing. He is a liar. He allows Justine to be executed for a murder he knows she did not commit rather than speak. He's a self-mythologizer. He describes his suffering with a grandeur that bears no relationship to the suffering he has caused. He is a catastrophizer who acts. He warns repeatedly of the dangers of ambition and pursues the most dangerous ambition in the novel without interruption. He is a parasite on grief. He mourns William, mourns Clerval, mourns Elizabeth, mourns his father. Not one of these deaths produces in him a single sustained act of accountability. He is a destroyer of women. Every woman in the novel who enters his orbit dies. He is a thief of futures. The creature asks for almost nothing, simply companionship, acknowledgement. That's it. And Victor refuses it. He is an intellectual coward. He destroys his notes rather than live with what the notes record. And he is a romantic in the most damaging sense, in love with the image of himself as a tragic rather than with the reality of himself as responsible. He is a man who dies, still narrating, still recruiting, still the protagonist of his own catastrophe, unreached by the full weight of what he has done, and he dies attended and comfortable, and Shelley lets him die that way because the death is the final piece of evidence, and the evidence is complete, and the case is made, and the case is a name, and the name is the thesis, and we are coming to the thesis now. What else is Victor? Are you prepared? The creature is a human being. Victor Frankenstein is the monster. Victor Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein. The man in the coat. The man with the university. The man with the devoted family in the lab. And the 2 centuries of reader sympathy is the monster of Frankenstein. And the creature, the unnamed, the unnumbered, 8-foot figure assembled from pieces of the dead and abandoned at birth in a locked room is its human being. It's the only character in full possession of an ethical framework and the integrity to honor it. The monster is Victor. Victor is the monster. I want to say it in every available configuration because I have been waiting for 4 days to say it. I find that the saying does not diminish it. If anything, it grows. Victor, monster. The creature, human. The named protagonist, monster. The nameless creation, human. The man who went to university, the monster. The man who learned to read from a bag of books in a forest, the human being. I am Dr. Silas Mordaunt, Associate Professor of Literature, and I share this knowledge with the world. In the novel Frankenstein, published 1818, the monster is Victor Frankenstein. I've been awake since Tuesday. I am available to be thanked.